All right, everybody, what is going on? It is me, Chris Aiken, and I am going to record you up a very quick tutorial on how to add your podcast to your phone and what we think is the best way to have a podcast on your phone. Now, I have an iPhone. I do not have an Android, so I can't really show you on an Android. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you on the most popular and common and free app for podcasts that is both on the Android and the iPhone. That, of course, being Pocket Casts. It's not the one that I use personally, but it's universal so that I can kind of show you this. And if you have an Android, it should look pretty close to this. So whether it's from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, look up Pocket Casts. It's two words. You can see it right here, Pocket Casts, and install it onto your phone. Now, once you install it onto your phone, go ahead and open it up. And when you open it up, it's going to give you some semblance of a blank screen here. Um, Basically, it's going to come to the podcast thing. And the easiest way to do it is just to either click this Discover Podcast button right here, or on the bottom, just click Discover, and it brings you to the screen that shows you what's trending. Pretty much everything that you would like to find is available here in Pocket Casts because it is one of the most popular podcasting things in the world. So what I would suggest is you just go to the search and you type in our name, The Classic Metal Show. Classic Metal Show. And then hit search. Now you can see that two of these will come up. And they're slightly different, and they have a purpose, although I hate that one of them still displays. There's no real way for me to get rid of it, and I'll explain it here in a second. The one I recommend that you do is the bottom one here, the one with the smaller Rex. You can see one is just a little bit bigger, the Rex logo. I suggest you do the smaller one. The reason I suggest you do the smaller one, and you can see, maybe you can see it just says the official podcast underneath it. This is the Spreaker podcast, but what it does is it does not show you the archived live stuff. So the problem we have with Spreaker is that it forces us to, since we run the channel live 24/7, it forces us to record 5-hour blocks. Well, that's great if you like those, you know that's great to have that 5-hour block. The problem with that is that if you use it with a podcast, it takes up a lot of space, a 5-hour block that just automatically downloads. And also, we don't keep those available. We delete them immediately because we need the space on Spreaker. So you may or may not get errors when you try to download those. So we suggest this one, but I'll go back. If you want to have the archives and you set it up to automatically download, you can see in this one here we have the Classic Metal Show live um, uh, from the previous day, because I guess neither me or Neely cleaned it up. But um, you can those would also be available for download as well. But I'm going to show you on this. We're going to go to the one with the smaller logo, Classic Metal Show. It says the official podcast on it, and then you just subscribe. And that's all you have to do to get that. Now, once you've subscribed, there's a couple of things you can do. If you are content to just listen to it streaming, you don't have to do anything else. But if you want it to download, there's a couple of things that you can do. So we'll go to settings, which is the little gear here. And on the settings, you can turn it on. The first setting here is auto download. That means every time we upload something new, it auto downloads. And just so you know, we set them to go off about 3 o'clock in the morning every morning, with the thought being, if you're going to listen to it in the car on your way to work or whatever, that we set it 3:05 for an auto download. You come into your car in the morning, you just pop it in and it goes. So if you wanted auto download, you would just click auto download here and turn it on. If you want notifications, if you want to get notifications on your screen, like on your lock screen or whatever, that there's new episodes, you just click that. If you have a playlist, the up next playlist, and you want it automatically to add to the bottom of the playlist, you can add that as well. And then you can tell it, do you want it on the bottom or on the top? We'll leave it at the bottom for now. Playback effects. If you wanted to have some playback effects, you can, making the speed a little faster. Some people do that. I don't know why, but some people like to speed it up a little bit. Trimming the silence so that it doesn't leave any gaps, or volume boost. Volume boost isn't necessarily a bad thing. It'll make it a little bit louder for each podcast. So those are the playback effects. The skip first, if you wanted to, you could do that. And I'll tell you what, people, if you really want to, Spreaker is going to stick 1 minute of ads in there. If you're downloading the stuff, we get credit for it anyway, so we don't give a shit if you listen to the ads or not. So what I would suggest is if you're going to auto download it, then you set this to 60 seconds. There you go, 1 minute, and it'll skip right past the ads, so you don't have to be fucking bothered with them. So there you go. Here's a quick trick from your friend Chris. And then last but not least, you've got your auto archive. This is basically deleting episodes if you want it to auto delete. And you just turn that on. You can, and then you set a couple of settings. For your played episodes, once you finish playing an episode, you can tell it to leave it there, which would be never. Once it's finished playing it, it'll delete. At 24 hours after you finish playing it, it'll delete. After 2 days or after 1 week. And you can pick whatever you want. Most times just leave it to after playing. Just a side note on that, there are 2 ads at the end. There's a minute worth of ads at the end of the Spreaker ads. If you don't play through them, then it won't auto delete. Just a note for you guys there. And if you leave it there, that's when you might want to have inactive episodes set. Or even if you don't. Maybe we just put on a podcast that you don't give a shit about, you don't want to listen to. So you can tell it if a podcast episode stays inactive, whether it doesn't get played in a certain amount of time or it never gets played, you can tell it a certain amount of time to wait before it auto deletes it, whether it's 24 hours, 2 days, or a week, or 2 weeks, or 30 days. So if there are inactive ones, I'll say 2 weeks. Now, if I don't play something within 2 weeks, it'll automatically delete it. And then finally, you can set an episode limit. If you have a smaller hard drive on your phone, if like most people don't have, like I do, I have a 256 gig hard drive, but most people have like a 16 gig hard drive. So if you don't want to have your phone get completely filled up with these things, just pick the number of episodes that you think that you listen to, before you would need something deleted. Whether it's just maybe you listen to everything all the way through every day, then you would just keep the one most recent. I wouldn't suggest that though, because sometimes we have 2 or 3 that upload in a day, 2 or 3 segments. But you could go 1, 2, 5, or 10. I would suggest 5. Or I would suggest 5 if you're a daily listener, 10 if you sometimes catch up at the end of the week, or you just don't get to it every single day. So that way, 10 most recent, and it'll delete them again as you play them. But that way, if you're on vacation or something, you're not listening to the fucking podcast, you have those 10 when you come back. So you have those, you click back, and you're all set. And then the last thing is the Siri shortcut. This is obviously an Apple-only feature, but you can set a saying or something so that you don't have to ever put your hands on it. You can just, hey, phone. I won't say Siri, but you guys know. You just say play CMS, and boom, it starts playing the up next playlist. So that's how you do it. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. So that you understand how to use it. This should be very, very similar with the Android phones as well. This is obviously a tutorial for the iPhone, and that's it. And it's Pocket Casts. You can use the same basic thing with any of them. I use Overcast personally. That's my podcast that I use, Overcast, and the CMS is right here. And it's a similar thing. I just like the dark look of it, and this has a couple more features that I like. But um, regardless of what you use, I just did Pocket Cast because it's universal. Hopefully that helps you guys understand, how to add your podcast. And for those of you that had iHeartRadio and you saw that go away, this is a way that that's not going to happen. The very last thing in the world that's going to go away from us is Spreaker. So using Spreaker is going to always be the best solution for the podcast, at least in our opinion. So do what you need to do to keep listening to the Classic Metal Show. As always, Neely and I thank you for listening. We're humbled that you do listen. Sometimes we don't know why you listen because it's a bunch of bullshit we're doing, but we definitely appreciate the fact that you guys dig the show, and I hope this tutorial was helpful. And yeah, heal and kill. See ya.